Welcome to another episode of Legion Elite Motorsports. Today we are going to bust down the GSX engine. Okay, shouldn't take too long. Not a long process. Takes longer to actually put it together. So let's get started and see what all we have to do and see the damage. Okay, so we took apart the spare motor, so to speak. And this is the original engine that was in the car while it was acting funny. So this engine has to be torn down. So first things first, we're gonna take the turbo manifold off. I think upon disassembling, I think the screw here fell in the hole. So we will take the turbo off and get that screw out, turn it upside down, should be good to go. We got to take off this water line. We have to take off this oil feed line. The return line's already disassembled along with the pan. And then there is a screw in here that you could take off there, or you could take this nut off right here. So I think I'm gonna opt to take this guy off because it's gonna be a lot simpler. And honestly, I would like to upgrade these hard lines and the soft steel braided lines, but we'll see. Because we're definitely going to be going with a different turbo setup in the future anyway, but this is a good start. I think we should get some fun out of this turbo before we retire it, including the manifold. We're going to retire that too. It does have the wideband and this beautiful downpipe. Yep, all of that stuff will be up for sale at some point. But as for now, we are going to, take those loose. Then I upgraded the nuts here, so these are self-locking, so they don't shake loose. These are 13 millimeters. We're gonna take all of those off. All of those. And then we should be good to go. Okay, so turbo manifold off, everything came off nice and easy. When you take a gasket or an item that requires a gasket off, you want to inspect it to see if there was any blow-by coming out. And this is oil. That's good. So it looks like only this one had a little bit of blow-by. So if you can, resurface the manifold in this case, and put in a new gasket, and you should be good to go. It should seal up and you should make all of your power. But as you can see, it's a little rusty, so we're gonna put some anti-seize on there, just a little bit, just a film, just to lubricate it and make sure it doesn't get rusty. So a little bit of that. Make sure you keep up with your bolts. I put these back so there's no question where it goes, and this is pretty obvious. It's bolted to here, so can't get that wrong. But so next we're gonna take off some of these accessories. Actually, before we do that, I'm gonna lube these up, put the bolts back. Can't forget that. But besides that, we're gonna take off some of these accessories and get to the timing components. The intake manifold, I'm actually gonna leave it on the head, so it'll be easy to just kind of pop the whole thing on and keep it pushing. But the accessories, I wanna take them off and check them. This belt, I don't know what it was, but it would slip and make noise. So I tightened it up to the max, and it still slips and make noise, so I might have to go with a slightly smaller belt. But other than that, this power steering pump is new and it works phenomenal. Perfect. Turbo manifold, happy, healthy. I spilled out the fluids, got the screw out, which was a concern. And we're gonna plug this hole. We're gonna use a bit of towel, pop that in there to make sure nothing else goes in there. Filters here to protect that end. Back end, you'll be able to visibly see it. But yep, it's good to go. Okay, so we got the power steering pump loosened, 3 bolts, not a big deal, 2 there, and then 1 in the back. Got that loosened, alternators loosened, belt off, timing cover off, but as you can see, the timing belt is rubbing on something and I need to figure out what it is. So, of course, all of this needs to be cleaned out. If we look here at any place the timing belt can touch, looking, right here. It looks like it's slowly carving this here piece, which I believe can be fixed. I'm gonna see if I can eliminate that pulley back there. May it have been put on backwards, frontwards, probably not, but yep, that plate is definitely bent, touching the timing belt and putting this blue substance everywhere. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take the timing belt off, but before I do, I wanna get a pin to put in here to hold that guy. If not, I will get another Mitsubishi stock unit, but this actually only has like 500 miles on it, maybe less than that, probably 30 miles. So I would like to reuse this, but we'll see after it's cleaned up. We need to, oh, this engine has no balancer shaft, so that doesn't mean anything currently. We need to put the engine in time. Just a good habit. Better to get used to it. So, you know, so you don't have to turn the gears up here or anything like that. But yeah, we're gonna put this engine in time and then we're going to go ahead and take this timing belt off and then hopefully take the head off. That is the game plan. So let's get to it. Okay, so once you put it in time, you're gonna put your cam locker in there and then we're gonna loosen the belt so the cams don't bounce into the piston. That's a big no-no. So, yeah, we're just gonna take loose this 14 millimeter right here and then that should loosen the belt and then we can take that off and start taking off the head. Okay, excuse the noise in the background, took off the belt. Got a little bit of glazing there. All right, so here you can see the belt is straight cut, right? But over here, you see it's a little rounded out from being rubbed. So I think that is the culprit of the damage to this belt, is that little plate right there. So we're gonna take that out and see if we can flatten it, make sure it goes in the right position, and take that from there. Yeah, and then after that we should be good, more or less. But the timing belt is off. Now we can start working on taking out the head. We're gonna start with taking out the spark plugs, the spark plug wires. We'll leave the spark plugs in there. Again, they haven't caused any problems. So we're gonna take out the spark plug wires, then after that we're gonna take off the valve cover. We're gonna loosen the ARP head bolts and slowly lift the head up. Okay, valve cover is off. Everything looks super clean. I'm actually looking in here pretty good. I'm gonna clean this out, but what I'm looking for is metal shavings, signs of metal shavings, you know, the combination basically. But everything looks really clean. These are aftermarket cams, nothing too aggressive. I think it's 268 on the intake and then 272 on the exhaust, somewhere in that area. But everything up, I see the SuperTech or not Super Tech, but brand new valve stem seals, stainless steel valves, upgraded valve springs, locks, retainers, the whole nine. But yeah, everything looks really clean. So what I'm gonna do is once I take this head off, I'm gonna check it, have it cleaned, and yeah, she should be good to run again. Spark plugs look great. There's no oil that went in there. Everything is looking great, great, great. So that's a good sign. You want to make sure you check these lobes for any damage. They're nice and clean. Nice and clean. Perfect. Next. 1990 6-bolt engine, timing marks. Okay. This has to be at 12 o'clock on both. Has a line that you match up straight across. The timing mark down here is the cutout that aims right here. Can't see it, but that motor is on time. So, after that, you can start taking everything apart. Okay, so the head is out. Looks great, running nice and rich. Not bad, not bad. Of course, a little magoober is gonna come out there, which is not a bad thing. We'll clean all of that up, of course. But the main thing I wanted to do was take a look at the straightness of the head, because on these cars, that is make or break. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. Of course, I'm doing this with one hand, but that looks pretty good. Because trust me, before, this head was warped. So bad that when I put the head down and began torquing it, the head actually was bent straight down the middle. And was standing up while I had the studs in there. And when I torqued it down, I went a little over what's recommended. I think it was like 80 or 90 was what was recommended, and I torqued it down to 100. You know, got some heat in the head and slightly overheated it, not pegged to the H, but above the middle for a little bit, then finished filling up the cooling system, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, the head regained its shape. Now, would that work for every car? Probably not. But in my case, I got lucky. I'm gonna finish checking this out with the straight edge, and then I'm gonna use a feeler gauge and then see what fits. And yeah, I'm pretty sure this head is excellent. So we'll just go from there, but I'll be back to see if it is or if it isn't. All right, so we are at the block. I used a Felpro gasket, a little bit more flexible than a solid metal head gasket. We got to keep that in mind, because when you're going to make some power, you need everything to seal perfectly. So everything looks good here. A little spillage from lifting up the head is normal. These are forged Manley pistons, so those are good to go. Everything looks good. Cylinder walls could use a little bit of love, but in general, not too terrible. But yep. All right, nothing's catching a nail. Not sideways, not up and down. Yep, that feels good. Same thing here. All right, nothing there. Nothing that way. Yeah, we're looking good. So, yep, let's peel this head gasket up. We're gonna throw that in the garbage and we will get a fresh one. And yeah, we're gonna continue to tear apart the block. Okay, so we're getting down to the good part. So, head gasket off. No issues or problems there, so we're good there. Taking off all of the accessories on the block on the front and the rear. So the motor mount brackets are all off, screws labeled, bagged in the bin. So now we have everything in the front, and then after that, we're gonna do everything in the rear, and then after that, rods and pistons. After rods and pistons, crank. So let's get to it. We got the tensioners off. That's one, that's two. I have the bolts zip tied to each other, so there'll be no guessing which bolt goes where. We're gonna take off the water pump, which is gonna make a big mess. Okay, we are almost there. So all of the screws are loose. We took the crank pulley off. Yep, everything's ready to come off the face of this. Then we're gonna move to the back. So, yep, 12s all the way around, and there's gonna be a lot of zip tying to do because you wanna make sure you keep the proper length so none of this stuff here changes. All right, let's finish this part up. Okay, this side is completely bare. Only thing left is this little 14 right there, which we'll leave there because we're actually gonna replace that bolt, so no big deal. But we are ready to move on to the clutch side. So we got some 12 millimeters, and then we got some 17 millimeters on the flywheel, which we'll take that guy off. We're gonna put the block sideways, laying down on its side, and then we're going to take out the pistons, then take out the crank. So we're almost there. Okay, so this is a full ACT, I wanna say 2900, I think. It's rated for, I believe, 500 foot-pounds of torque. And a little understatement to see this thing was clamping down pretty hard. So, yeah, this is gonna get replaced. Something a little softer, something a little bit more subtle, but we'll knock it out. Okay, so the flywheel, the whole clutch assembly is off. We took out piston number 4, it's backwards. Laid it on its side, took it out. These bearings still look brand new. Okay, look at this. Both of them. That's a little dirt I put on there, but these bearings look brand new. Let's see if you can get a better view. Yeah, these bearings look brand new, but we're gonna get new ones. It's definitely not good to run bearings after there's been a metal catastrophic failure, which we're gonna get to, of course, but yep, they look great. But I'm gonna save these just for, you know, research purposes, but very impressed with how the bearings look. So we're gonna get to the troubled one in a minute once we pull out the crank. Hopefully the crank is good, but we will see. And then of course the piston that came out looks great. Hold on, focus. There we go. And then the rod looks great. Little dirt. I'm sure you can see how this can get dirty, but not bad. Everything still looks good. And ready to reuse. Piston number 4 says it on the main cap so you don't get it confused. And we're just gonna line these up here, and then I'm gonna individually bag them. Alrighty, so I put them all in here. Every single one of them look the same, barely anywhere. There's a little something there, but it doesn't catch the nail. But they all look very clean. All of them just look great. All right, let's check out the pistons. So of course these look perfectly fine. No issues, no blow by, no nothing. So these are happy and healthy. Manly pistons, eagle rods. Ready to go for another round. There we go. So yeah, we're gonna individually bag those and we should be good to go. Okay, the little shield has been taken off. This guy right here, this is gonna get cleaned and painted and straightened out. It's a little bit. All right, so now we are ready to take off the main bolts. This one was already taken loose previous, and that's how I discovered the carnage. So before we get to that one, we're gonna take loose the front set and the rear set, and then we'll do the center set last. Okay, so let's take this loose and see what we got. Okay, here it goes. Already tapped them loose. Let's see what we got. Pure carnage. That looks really, really bad. All right, we're gonna skip this one, like I said. All right, and this one, more carnage. That looks also really, really bad. Okay, and last but not least, that is destroyed, and the bearing is stuck on here. See that there? But since all of the bearings are out, let's pull out the crank. Give me a second. This sucker's kind of heavy to do with one hand. Actually, we're gonna get her done anyway. Rah! One-handed. All right. So as you can see, it's pretty bad on this bearing. That one doesn't look too bad here. That doesn't look too bad there. Same deal here, looks pretty good, looks pretty good. But this is where all the horror is. As you can see, the bearing is still on there, top and bottom. And what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to peel it off because it's stuck, it's not moving. So let me peel it off and see what we got. Okay, so I took a hammer and popped this one loose and popped this one loose. I didn't take it off yet, but let me see if I can. Ooh, straight to the copper. Wow. Thrust, not that bad, but it has discoloration due to the whole bearing heating up. This side is destroyed. So this was getting some sort of a crank walk. There's no bearing left there on that side. This side looks decent. So I want to say it could have been because of the pressure plate, but this is one bearing. Okay. Let's get the back one here. Again, doing this one hand. Okay. All right, I think we got it. And this is the other bearing. So front looks manageable. Rear completely destroyed. There's nothing there. Okay, and then for the crank, again, all of the journals look good. No scratching, you know, across these guys. That's perfect. Here is obvious, so yeah. And then no scratching here and nothing here. So literally, the thrust washer got stuck and ate itself alive. That's exactly what we're looking at. So let me lift this crank up, stand up, and get a sideways view 360. Yep, and That's what she wrote right there. This is going to need major surgery to possibly get the bearings off. I don't know. And then they got to check clearances with the crank, with OEM specs and stuff like that. Woo, I don't know. That's pretty bad. But that's the 360 view. Alrighty. Right there. There's little pieces of shrapnel on there. But yeah, yeah, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments. What do you guys think? Is this crank screwed or possibly savable? I don't know. I really doubt it. Look at that scrapage right there, digging deep into the crank. Yeah, I don't think this one is savable, sadly. All of the journals are freaking perfect, except this guy. And then the thrust area, it looks a little destroyed. Sorry about the shaky footage, but yep, I think this one's done. And with that being said, we're gonna call it an episode right there. We are waiting for some parts to come in. There's gonna be some machine shop time. I really doubt that crank is savable. Definitely let me know in the comments. But yeah, I do have another crank from the previous engine shown in the video, and that's the one we're gonna use. And for that other block, I'm gonna be looking for standard crank for that, and hopefully all goes well searching and kind of take it from there. But remember guys, knowledge is power. And if you like what you see, definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit that bell icon for updated notifications, and I will see you guys next time.